I wonder what people are thinking of when they hear Pacific Ocean. Do they think of islands with sandy beaches, palm trees, coconuts, people who are singing and dancing when they're showing their cultural displays to visitors? Or are some of you also thinking of the historical things that happened in the Pacific, like Western influences, especially after World War II, from when the US influenced the islands of the Pacific greatly, although the French have been colonizing there as well, and the Portuguese, well, the Portuguese a bit more the Philippines, but I'm not going towards Philippines today. In today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind, and another part of the What the World Can Learn from ... series, I am focusing on the Polynesian Triangle with an emphasis on Hawaii again, and the wisdoms and teachings and mindsets that we can pick up from people living in that area, in that Polynesian Triangle. There is still a lot of traditions that are preserved and passed on to the next generation, where areas experience a cultural renaissance, especially since the 1990s, I think, but even before. The voices were never silent completely, despite all the Western oppression and takeovers. Anyway, we shall have a look today at Polynesian or Hawaiian teachings, wisdoms, mindsets in our episode of Exploring Brain and Mind. I can see a few question marks popping up, folks. What is the Polynesian Triangle? The Polynesian Triangle, to start the episode, is a large geographical region of the Pacific Ocean marked by 3 points. And those 3 points are Hawaii in the north. Then there's Aotearoa, better known as New Zealand, in the southwest. And Rapa Nui, probably better known as the Easter Island, in the east. Many other Polynesian islands, such as Samoa, Tonga, and French Polynesia, are located within this vast triangle. What is very interesting is as well that the language of different islands are very similar. It's almost a bit like different dialects of a language, and that is most probably due to having had connections through sea voyages among the different islands for many centuries. These island cultures have long understood something modern neuroscience is only beginning to confirm, that well-being doesn't exist in isolation. It arises from harmony with our surroundings, our values, and each other. And we will look at how key principles from the area can help us live with more balance, integrity, and inner peace in a fast-changing, often disconnected world. It's actually not that wrong, is it? We seem to have all these digital means, but on a human level, how connected are we? Let's start with the deeper meaning of aloha. To most of the world, aloha is a simple greeting, but in Hawaiian tradition, aloha means far more than hello. It represents a way of being, living with love, kindness, and compassion. The word itself can be broken down into different parts. Alo means presence or face, and ha meaning the breath or life energy. We get back to ha a bit later as well. So the way that aloha is interpreted here means the presence of divine breath.
And this is only one way of interpreting it, because there are other ways that are more deeper even, that go into allocating a different term for every single letter of aloha.
To live with Aloha is to breathe life into each interaction, to honor the shared humanity and energy that connects us all. From a psychological and neuroscientific point of view, practicing kindness and compassion activates brain networks involved in empathy, emotional regulation, and social bonding, releasing oxytocin and endorphins that promote both trust and well-being. Aloha teaches us that love is not an emotion we feel towards others, but a state of being we share with others. Another powerful concept is mana, the personal power and energy, the spiritual energy that exists within all living things. Mana can be strengthened through good intentions, integrity, and right action, or weakened by negativity, harm, or selfishness. In a sense, mana reflects what psychology might call personal agency or inner strength, the belief that our actions matter and that we have influence over our world. When we act with alignment, when our thoughts, words, and deeds match our values, we reinforce our mana. This alignment is what gives life direction, purpose, and flow. Modern neuroscience supports this idea. When we act in alignment with our inner values, we experience coherence in the brain's reward circuits and reduced stress reactivity in the amygdala. Living in mana is, in essence, living in integrity, and it nourishes both mind and body. Next, we're looking at Pono and Kuleana, balance and responsibility. Pono refers to balance, righteousness, or being in harmony with what is right. To live Pono is to act justly, honestly, and respectfully, not just towards others, but towards oneself and the earth. Pono also links with Kuleana, which refers to responsibility, the idea that every person has a unique role or duty within the greater whole. Together, these concepts teach that responsibility is not a burden, but a privilege, the privilege of contributing positively to the collective well-being. From a psychological perspective, a sense of responsibility and moral alignment builds self-esteem, purpose, and emotional stability. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that regulates empathy, planning, and moral reasoning, thrives when we make choices aligned with Pono. To expand this further, Pono represents the mind's natural mechanism for self-correction. Just as the body seeks homeostasis, the mind seeks moral and emotional balance. When we act in ways that are Pono, our brain experiences congruence between cognition and emotion, a form of psychological harmony that supports well-being and reduces inner conflict. Living with Kuleana reminds us that our well-being is deeply connected to how we treat others, our communities, and the planet. Next is Lōkahi, unity and harmony. Lōkahi means unity, harmony, and cooperation, the alignment of the self, others, and the natural world. It emphasizes that the balance isn't just inner calm, but the ability to live in right relationship with everything around us. Psychologically, Lōkahi mirrors the brain's integrative function, the capacity to unify diverse parts of experience. Our left and right hemispheres, our conscious and subconscious minds, are constantly working to integrate emotion and reason, self and world. When this integration occurs, we experience a sense of peaceful coherence, mental and emotional harmony. Practicing Lōkahi encourages us to collaborate rather than compete, to harmonize differences rather than divide, both within ourselves and within our communities. I'll make a point here that harmonizing ourselves within ourselves is crucial, and it should be, along with the self-awareness aspect, a foundation for being, because if we can't harmonize ourselves and are at odds with ourselves, with our different parts of our inner self, how can we then try and harmonize with others within a community, a society? We have to be okay with ourselves and within ourselves before we can be okay with everything and everyone else. Now let me get back to Ha, the breath of life. Ha means breath, the sacred life force that connects all living beings. It is the bridge between body and spirit, and quite literally the connection or the bridge between the nervous system and the mind. Breathing practices such as Ha, Lu, deep, intentional breathing are central to many Hawaiian traditions of healing and presence. From a neuroscientific perspective, controlled breathing activates the vagus nerve, calming the autonomic nervous system, reducing stress hormones, and bringing the brain back into a state of mindful awareness. When we connect with Ha, we return to the present moment, regulating emotion, restoring clarity, and reconnecting with our life energy. It's a reminder that every breath we take is a renewal of connection to all that lives. And no, I'm not singing the Police song now. You know which one I mean. Every breath you take and all that. And finally, in our exploration, there is Ohana, family and connection. Ohana means family, but not only by blood. It represents a network of mutual care and belonging, a community that extends to friends, neighbors, and even the natural world. Research in neuroscience and psychology confirms what these teachings have expressed for centuries, that social connection is vital for mental health and cognitive resilience. Chronic loneliness or social isolation activates the same brain regions as physical pain, whereas belonging and positive relationships regulate the nervous system, reduce inflammation, and promote longevity. Polynesian and Hawaiian teachings, mindsets, wisdoms remind us of that true well-being is we-based, not me-based. So what can we learn from the Hawaiian and Polynesian wisdom and teachings? We can learn to slow down, to live with presence, and to recognize that energy, whether emotional, mental, or spiritual, connects everything. We can learn to live with aloha, to let compassion guide our choices and bring balance when there is division. We can learn that personal power or mana comes from integrity, and that responsibility or Kuleana is the key to harmony or Pono. We can learn that unity or Lōkahi and connection, Ohana, are not luxuries but essential ingredients for a healthy mind and a thriving world. And through Ha, the breath of life, we can learn that peace begins with something as simple and sacred as a single mindful breath. When we embrace these teachings of aloha, mana, pono, kuleana, Lōkahi, ohana, and ha, we begin to see life not as a competition, but as a collaboration. And I think to dive really deep into all these teachings is always best to ask and speak to native people from the area that can enlighten us even more than me and my little podcast. Because I'm only scratching the surface, and these people, they have the wisdom and the knowledge from generations and centuries and millennia to pass on to us if they so wish, and if we treat these teachings and that knowledge with the respect it deserves. And let me remind us that our brains are wired for connection, our minds thrive on purpose, and our energy flourishes when we live in balance. And that concludes today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind, and another part of the What the World Can Learn from ... series. I do suggest a little bit of reflection on the episode, not just on this one, but on the ones in this What the World Can Learn From series, could maybe help us to integrate some of that knowledge into our daily lives. I also encourage you to share the episode with people that might be interested. And if you haven't done so, subscribe and follow Exploring Brain and Mind at the usual places like Apple and Spotify and Amazon Music and YouTube. And I hope you tune in again next week.